If you are in the market for a classic station wagon these days, the choices are becoming more and more limited in a landscape completely dominated, of course, by crossovers and SUVs. Luckily, Volvo says, hold my beer, we are staying true to what we know. The V60 is still here for you. My name is Peter, this is an Autocue video, and together we are going to have a look at this V60 and see if it still has a place in today's world, on today's roads. Because it is a classic, sleek, traditional street missile. And I personally really like the station wagon form and shape, but I also have to admit, I drive an Xpeng G6 myself, that the SUV body type is quite practical and convenient. But of course it has downsides too. Weight, size, efficiency are all suffering. And this V60 wants to prove everybody wrong and say this is still a good solution. So normally we start the outside here on the front, but that has to wait for a second because obviously it is all about this elongated station wagon shape. 4.80 meters long, so it's certainly not a small car, but this looks so sleek and elegant. It really looks like a road missile as far as I'm concerned. It really is a beauty. Volvo has done such a good job in managing the proportions well, and that classic shape with that long bonnet and then that arch all the way up. I really like this kind of shape. And obviously this is the party trick. This car is only 1.43 meters high, and for contrast I'm 1.83 meters. So this sleek, low roofline is what the station wagon shape is all about. In contrast, my own Xpeng G6 is about this high, so I'm, looking against the roofline. And here I can see on top of the roof, I can see into the car even if I want to, and completely over the car. And that is the difference. That's what's making this long, elongated shape look like a real road missile. Back to the front, obviously classic Volvo, I would almost say. Nice and low to the ground with this big Volvo logo in the middle of the grille, and then the Thor Hammer daytime running lights. As far as I'm concerned, this is a good looking vehicle. When we move back to the side, you already spotted the charging point, of course, because this is a plug-in hybrid. You can charge the 19 kilowatt hour battery there. It will give you about 14 kilowatt hours of practical usable battery capacity, and that gives you a range of about 80-ish kilometers, depending a little bit on how you drive. Obviously, if you're going to push this hard on the highway, you're not going to get that, but sort of normal city driving, you can expect about that kind of range. So that's nice. It gives you a lot of versatility and it gives you a lot of options in terms of deployment of this car. You can imagine your general travel to and from work, taking the kids to school, to swimming and all those kind of things can be done fully electric, which is nice. And that is exactly the strength of the plug-in hybrid platform. Walking to the rear, again, classic Volvo with these stand-up tail lights here on the side that also accentuate that sort of shape and the arches here with the hips really well. I quite like it, and I think the rear is also an exercise in minimalistic, beautiful design. Very few sort of confusing lines or a lot of things going on. It's just clean and simple, and I really like that. Obviously, station wagons are all about the luggage space, so I won't keep you waiting much longer and open this up right away. We're greeted with 520 liters of luggage space, which is a lot, especially for a car that is not that big, especially height-wise. I've left the charging cable inside so you have a little bit of scale perspective, and it is nice and big, nice and square, everything you really want to load things in. Obviously you miss a little bit of height compared to an SUV, but that is compensated by the fact that it is low to the ground and you don't have to lift anything up really high in order to get it in. There's also no load lip, so that makes it even easier and more practical, and there's even a little bit of a scuff plate here so you don't damage anything. Volvo has a lot of clever things, so there is a button here for the tow bar coming out, there's a 12-volt socket, there's things like this to create a sort of a partial separation of your boot, so you don't have anything flying around in there. There's tie-down points, and of course you can throw the rear seats down as well for even more space. So basically it ticks every single box you can imagine for a usable and big practical rear space. There's also a rear wiper. Very good. No nonsense with aerodynamics or thermal efficiency or whatever to get the droplets off your window. Just the wiper works much better. And overall, nice low to the ground profile again here in the back, and an all-round nice design. This test vehicle is on 19-inch rubber and rim combination, which I think looks pretty okay. Could probably use an inch bigger with 20, but not really necessary. I personally wouldn't spec it in this gray color, although it does look quite chic, I think, with the black trim around the windows and on the roof. I would go for the full black version, also with black wheels. But in terms of style and design, I mean, I think we have a winner here. I challenge anyone in the comments to name a better looking crossover or SUV than this beauty right here. I'll be happy to prove them wrong, but I think this is one of the best looking cars on the road today. Of course, a little tour through the cockpit of this V60, and it is very much a Volvo cockpit. Very recognizable as Volvo with the vertical screen here in the middle that they pioneered, and an all-round and high quality interior. As soon as you sit down here, it feels like quality, so that is quite nice. The other thing that you notice right away is how low you sit. Obviously, this is a sleek, low station wagon, but you notice it right away that the seat is further down as you're used to with all these crossovers and SUVs that I drive most of the time and also own myself. And also when you get out, like your foot touches the ground way earlier than you think. So yeah, very much low to the ground, cruising experience right away from the moment you sit down. And that's also something that makes you feel slightly more connected to the vehicle, because most SUVs and crossovers, you have the feeling you sit on top of the car. Here you really feel that you sit inside the car. It's a little bit of a cocoon feel. That's because the windows are not that big, because obviously the vehicle is not that high, and also the front window is not that high. So you really feel sort of inside the vehicle, if that makes sense. The layout here is a lot of buttons and a lot of manual operation, so that is cool because that's the stuff we like. Starting here at the door with physical buttons for the windows, 4 of them, and a little joystick for the mirrors. Excellent. Next to the steering wheel here is a button for the electric tailgate and a button for the fuel filler cap, because this being a plug-in hybrid, obviously you still need to fill up every once in a while. And on the door we have some buttons for seat memory and locking. And that is all you have here on the left. We have a physical door opener that is, it sounds like metal. I'm not sure if it is actual metal, but it sounds like it. And a big Bowers & Wilkins stereo grille that continues on the center of the dash and obviously on the passenger side as well. All the ventilation is manual too. So we have ventilation rosters all through the cabin, and they are up, down, left, right, and a little turning action on this knob in the middle to control the airflow. So that's nice and analog. But for the rest of the climate, temperature and everything else, you have to be in the screen. The steering wheel is a circle. Yes, no squircles, triangles, hexagons or anything else. Just a normal actual circle, not even a flat bottom. So that is very nice. It feels very chunky in the hand and it's so nice to have slide through your fingers on roundabouts and so on. I really like it. What I don't like is the piano black buttons on the steering wheel. They are so smudgy so much of the time. It is such a disaster. I don't understand why this is done and who has approved this, of course. But it is here, left for your cruise control, right for your system and your settings, and that is all you get. No flippers behind the screen, despite the fact that you can do some regen braking here. But if you want to turn that on, you have to use the shifter knob in the middle to put it in the B setting. So no flippering here to adjust your regen, it is just either on or off. Then a bit further we have normal stalks for the indicators and the lights on the left and for your wiper settings on the right, so that is fairly standard. Then through the steering wheel I have the driver's display, which is nice and wide, displaying anything from my speed to my range to my fuel gauge, maps, anything you want really. Working together with the head-up display above the steering wheel, which I personally really like because it's a nice up-down view to get basically all the information you need while driving. You can extend that information on the center screen, which is the vertical orientation screen. That is flanked by 2 giant air vents on the side that are so big that you're sort of wondering why they need to be that size and if the screen could not have taken up a little bit more of that real estate. It is quite small, especially in 2026. It feels tiny. To be honest, it works really well because it has Google Maps and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can connect everything, Google Assistant. It all works really well. It is just small because on such a small screen you have no limited real estate, and icons get small, text gets small, and it just feels a little cramped to work on, despite the fact that it is quite complete and does everything you want. Above the steering wheel, by the way, another speaker from the Bowers & Wilkins system. Excellent sound system, by the way. And underneath the screen there is a physical home button that you can hit anywhere you are in the menu, and you will just come back to your starting screen, which is nice. Actually, that's a good touch. We have a row of actual buttons for your media controls, so play, pause, volume, skip track, and also your hazard lights, your window heating, and your demisting. So that's all there. A bit tucked away, but it is functional and also handy for the passenger to operate. Then we get to the center console, and I have several thoughts there. First of all, it is entirely covered in piano black, so that is a full disaster because this is also constantly smudgy. It is not necessary anymore to put this in your car. If I would own this car, I would immediately buy some kind of sticker situation from AliExpress and sticker this whole thing over, because it is so gross constantly, because your fingers are always a little fatty, and when you're eating something in the car, it is just nasty. It gets even worse when we close the cup holders off that I now use to store my key and my garage clicker. That is even more piano black here. So yeah, big no-go. Absolutely not good. And the bad news continues, because over here there is a hole and a special slot for my phone. So you think, great, I can put it there and it's out of the way. But my phone doesn't fit, and therefore I can't store it there at all. And it's not like I have a giant phone, it's just a Pixel 10. Doesn't fit there. And it gets even worse when we open this up. There's a little area where you can put stuff, but there's also 2 USBs for charging, and your 12-volt socket is here too. And even a little cubby where you can tuck your charging cable in, so you can plug it in and set your phone in here to charge. Well, first of all, your phone doesn't fit, so that's a disaster. And then second of all, your phone also doesn't fit in any of this space. So in no way, shape or form is anybody in 2026 going to be able to fit their phone inside. And I don't understand how this is the case. Like, has nobody tried this out at Volvo in the whole design process? Has nobody said like, oh, maybe we need to make a little bit more space here? Baffling, absolutely baffling. And the result is that you can't use this for anything because it is this high. So what are you realistically going to put in there other than a parking ticket maybe? Your phone doesn't work over there, and the whole thing has no storage whatsoever. So I can't put anything in here. And there isn't that much space in the interior to begin with, because the door bins are also not that large. So you end up having to put your phone over here, and then it just slides about. Or you have to open this up and put it in the cup holder, which then sort of makes the whole cup holder unusable. So that is not a good example of Volvo design and clever Swedish ingenuity. This simply does not work in any way, shape or form. Be that as it may, the gear knob looks quite nice. It is by Orrefors Sweden, so that is fantastic. And that is your normal R and D, and your P is a button. And you can pull it again to go to the B setting, like I mentioned, for extra regen braking. There's an engine start-stop button here, which is not a button, but a knob that you have to turn slightly in order to start the engine, or the car in general. Then we have a handbrake and your auto hold buttons here as well. So that's the center console. What has been done better are the seats. These are 24-fold adjustable or something. Super comfortable, heated, cooled, pleasant place to sit. You can find an excellent driving position here. Also, again, contributing to the sort of cocoon feel of the car. This is great. You can adjust the bolster, so that's fantastic for me. You can adjust the seat, you can adjust the length. It's all there and it's great. The only thing is that it's slightly cumbersome to operate the different parts of the seat that you're adjusting. You always have to look at the screen and work with the button on the side of the seat at the same time. So that can be a bit of a fiddle to figure out, but once you do, it is very nice. What's also nice is that we have a panoramic roof. That's excellent, and a necessity for this black interior. It is black on black with more black. So if you go for this spec, you do need the panoramic roof for some extra light, because I mentioned the windows not being very big. So here in the front, it's maybe not that bad because you have the front window, but in the rear, it's going to get claustrophobic in a hurry if this is not here. The roof can be opened, the front half opens, and there's also a rollo that comes all the way across to close it off when it is very sunny, so that you don't roast in here. But again, things are going sideways because the operation of both the opening and the closing of the rollo are done with this finger slider situation here. There's an actual slot that you have to use then to sort of slide your finger around in. And for some reason, somebody at Volvo thought, you know what, a button is a way too easy solution for people to use. Let's make it more complicated. So now you have to slide your finger around in here. Half the time you will press the light, and the other half of the time the roof will not be doing what you want it to do. It is a complete disaster. And whoever comes up with this kind of stuff needs to be fired immediately. And I don't understand how this gets through meetings and engineering discussions where people don't say, that's not a better solution, don't do this. It's baffling to me. But okay, here we are. It is nice that we have the roof and the extra light, but the implementation is a disaster. All round though, I like this cabin. It feels high quality, it feels simple and minimalistic, but very functional at the same time. Everything does what you think it does. And despite some poor choices in material and placement and operations, all round it is a very pleasant place to be. It's a nice place to sit and cruise. Obviously a little bit of driving as well, and of course the driving experience starts in full electric mode with that plug-in hybrid powertrain. I put the menu here on the screen. We have hybrid, power, pure and all-wheel drive as our driving options. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. Most of the time you will put it in hybrid and let the car figure out what kind of propulsion is needed in the circumstances. So right now we're in my neighborhood, fully electric, everything relaxed, quiet, silent, emission-free. And if I look at my current range, I have 57 kilometers of range left in the battery and then another 560 in the fuel tank. So more than plenty to feel confident about to drive to work and back. And if you can just plug it in every evening when you get home in a normal, socket, you don't need a full charging facilities at home because you only need a few kilowatts per hour anyway. Then yeah, you don't really need to use the petrol engine at all in a given week. Obviously, Volvo is claiming all kinds of fantastically astronomical fuel consumption numbers of 1 liter per 100 kilometers or something like that, which is of course completely irrelevant because it really depends on how you use that hybrid system. If you can charge every day at home, sure, you never touch the petrol tank at all, and then yeah, fantastic figures can be managed. But the opposite is also true. If you don't plug in and charge the battery and you're only using the combustion engine, then you're carrying 200 or 300 kilos of battery with you all the time. And then the engine has to work so much harder just to move that around. So then your consumption goes up like crazy. So it really depends on how you deploy that power and how you use the hybrid system. If you do that in a smart way, yes, you can be very economical. If you do want all the performance, the 330 something horsepower, then you put it in the power mode, of course. If you want to lock in that electric drive, providing you have enough battery, you put it in pure. And if you want permanent all-wheel drive when it's snowy outside, for example, then you can hit that one and then it will all work together. Now, I still maintain that this plug-in hybrid solution is a very nice combination of almost the best of both worlds. You can drive electrically most of the time and you have the range and the performance when you need it from the combustion engine, which is a nice combination of things together in one car. For anybody who either cannot charge at home or doesn't want to deal with charging, or people with range anxiety, it is really the best of both worlds. And looking at this car being a little over 2 tons without me in it, it's also not, the weight penalty and the complexity penalty is also almost gone these days, where the batteries are powerful enough and the complexity has been out-engineered almost completely. So that is also nice to know that it always will work and always will get you where you need to go. Here in the back of the V60 we have a nice large opening for you to get in and also to deal with child seats and such. But because the car is so much lower, you can see it's up to my chest basically. There is, you have to bend over a lot in order to do things here. So that is something to consider. And also when you get in, you notice that you have to go quite far and down, just like in the front. So anybody less flexible than me, this is something to consider. Because in SUVs, obviously you have a lot more height in the car. Usually if it's an electric SUV, big battery pack in the bottom too, so that it raises everything in the car up quite a bit. Once we're in here, the space is not that appealing, I have to say. First of all, I'm sitting normal with 1.83 m and my head against the headrest, and I'm touching the roof with my head. So that is not ideal. I had the same problem in the front. I like to have my seat quite far down as a driver, but obviously back here you can't change the height of your seat, and I'm touching the roof. So anybody taller than 1.83 m is just not going to fit back here. And that is obviously due to the height in the car that just isn't there. Also because the roof line is a bit like a V on the top of the car. So yeah, it just makes everything smaller in here. And that impracticality continues when I look ahead. I have a lot of space for my knees, this much, so that's fine. But the rear of the seats is hard. So if you have longer legs and you're hitting the seat, it is very uncomfortable. Luckily, the car is long, lengthwise, with 4.80 m, so there is enough space that way. But if I start to look sideways, there is an enormous transmission tunnel here in the middle. To the point where you cannot use this middle seat at all, because the tunnel goes almost all the way up to the bench, making it completely impractical to sit here. You have to sit with your feet either side of the transmission tunnel, making the space here smaller once again. So that's not good. And the bad news continues in terms of practicality in general. So not only is the space limited. Also things like the door pockets are barely big enough to hold a can of soda. There's a flubbery, cheap feeling little net here in the back of the seats that you can use to store some stuff, but that is about it for the rear passengers. Because even the armrest back here has nothing but a flubbery cup holder situation that doesn't really function. So for a family wagon, I find it a bit disappointing, I have to say. The practicality is just not there. And if you have kids, I mean, obviously they'll fit back here, but you know, my oldest son is 12 and approaching 1.60 meters. So yeah, it's not long before he's reaching these kind of heights and it simply doesn't fit here anymore. Luckily, the quality back here is good. Same materials as in the front. So we have the same nice black leather, the same nice aluminium accents with the speaker grille and the door handle. So that is all very nice. We have heated seats in this version as well, although there's no storage whatsoever in the center console. But yeah, those things are on point. And also the contact with the front of the car is really nice. It feels open and spacious back here. So that's good. Good contact that way, especially for kids sitting here. And even despite all the blackness, thanks to the panoramic roof, no claustrophobic tendencies back here at all. So as far as that goes, that's good. But yeah, the usability back here is quite limited with the little storage and the transition tunnel and the cheap feeling things here and there. Not the premium experience I was really hoping for, even though, you know, some things are good. So it's a bit of a mixed bag back here. Then once we're here on the highway, the powertrain sort of extends itself to a very pleasant driving experience here as well. We are currently still in electric mode, doing 103 kilometers an hour. It's quiet, it's refined, everything that you want. So that's great. And if I want more power, we're still in that hybrid mode, I can put it in the power mode and then the combustion engine will permanently be on. But if I don't need it, I can just leave it in hybrid and the car will still figure it out for me. Now there is something to note. We are doing 113 now, fully electric, like I said. If I floor it, 1, 2, 3, 3 and a bit counts before the engine is turned on and the power starts to kick in. So it is important to note that it is not the electric acceleration that you expect maybe if you're used to a full EV. And it is something to take into consideration that you have that delay before the engine wakes up and the power actually comes. So this is not a problem or anything, but it is something to be aware of, that the power doesn't come instantly. It is not a full EV after all. If you have the combustion engine on already, then of course the power comes much quicker because the engine doesn't need to be woken up and then spool up. So, you know, depending a bit on which driving mode you're in, all is well, but there is that delay to consider. Obviously, you guys want to know how much all this goodness is going to cost you, so I got the price list right here. The plug-in hybrid is always the T6 all-wheel drive plug-in with the automatic gearbox, four-wheel drive and the hybrid system. That will give you a maximum output of 247 kilowatts, which is about 335 horsepower, 589 Newton meters of maximum torque and a 0 to 100 sprint of 5.4 seconds. So that is always the powertrain. Then in terms of versions, you can already start with the Essential for 52,000 euros here in the Netherlands. You can then move up to the Core for 55, the Core Business for 56, the Plus for 59 and this Ultra for 62,995. And in this Ultra, you get the panoramic roof and also the head-up display and a bunch of other toys. And on top of those prices, you can start to play with colors, rims and all kinds of other accessories. But this is how you can get started. While we are driving here, it is an excellent cruiser. It is nice to be close to the road. Every time I got into this car this week, I was like, oh yeah, it's nice. It gives you much better connection to the car and to the driving experience. And of course, that is a bit of journalist blah blah, I admit, because I don't think many people are going to the showroom saying like, no, I need a car that fully engages me in the driving experience. Most people just want transportation. Which is completely fair, but I think it's nice that you feel slightly more involved thanks to the driving position, thanks to the all-wheel drive. You can actually enjoy the power of the drivetrain as well. You know, you have a bit more grip, obviously, with the power distributed over four wheels, and you can also use the power because it's 330 odd horsepower, so it's not, you know, a rocket ship by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a fast car, and it's a usable amount of power that you can actually deploy. So that's excellent, and I think it's a nice combination with the hybrid system, the shape of the car, and the sort of flexibility that you have on how to deploy this car. because you can take this to ski holiday, put it in all-wheel drive up a mountain with your family in the back, your ski box on the roof, the big boot full of luggage, no problem. And then at the same time, you can use this as your commute car, as the car to drive your kids to swimming, fully electric, and just enjoy the powertrain in so many different ways and enjoy the shape of the car and the practical usability as well. And in considerable style, because like I said before, I think this is one of the best looking cars around. It looks like a cruise missile on the road, especially at speed here on the highway. It's nice. Like the few times I've seen other V60s drive this week, I'm like, yeah, it does look good. It is really, really well done in terms of design. What's not so well done is the practicality of the car. Here in the front, there's just not enough space to put things. Here the center console is completely full. I can't even put my phone in there. There's no wireless charging. The center console is completely unusable. Those things are just not good enough and needs to be better, because it's, you know, as the family wagon, you want this car to do it all, and it can. But the practicality here in the front and also in the rear just doesn't allow you to fully deploy it as it should. You know, the big transmission tunnel down there, the small door bins, no place to put anything for the kids, the cheap net in the back of the seats, those things are just not necessary in a car that is well over 60,000 euro. And especially when you look at the EVs these days that are built from the ground up, they have so much more space and so much more storage options. Obviously, because they don't have to deal with a legacy platform, but you know, they are there and they are also valid options for that kind of money. All around, I like this car. I like for what it is. I like it for how it looks. I like it for how it drives and the sort of flexibility in deployment. I think all those things are really nice. I think the argument for the plug-in hybrid is starting to shrink, especially here in the Netherlands, where the charging infrastructure is so good that you don't really have to worry about charging anymore. And also battery capacity and technology is good enough these days that it's not really an issue anymore to have range anxiety and so on. But I can totally see the case that if you don't want to deal with any of that, you just want to, you know, trickle charge at home, drive electric the whole week, and then blast to Spain on the weekend, look no further. This is the car to do it in style, luxury, and practicality, albeit with some side notes here and there. So that's all I got for you in this video. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Let me know in the comments below if you still think the station wagon has a space on today's roads, or if we just should all switch to SUVs. Interesting to read how you guys feel about that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.